This is the Process Shot. I'm Michael. I'm not much for beer. And I've seen America, the Motion Picture. It's an animated comedy film directed by Matt Thompson, which reimagines George Washington and the American Revolution, not to mention a good amount of American history, with a good amount of irreverence and a whole lot of inaccuracy. After the death of his best friend, Abe Lincoln, at the hands of the turncoat Benedict Arnold, Washington is inspired to finish Abe's work, recruiting the likes of the fraternity bro Samuel Adams, the Chinese female Thomas Edison, and others to fight against the British and bring independence and democracy to the colonies. Along the way, they sink the Titanic, decode the Gettysburg Address, and win Vietnam. Yeah. Obviously, the movie is less focused on being a realistic yet comedic alternate history of America's founding, and more about making light of American history and being absurdist for the sake of a good laugh. And the film is able to pull this off, especially when it comes to the absurdity of the story, as it raises the stakes from colonial liberation to global domination. Again, there's a heavy emphasis on making fun of major American events as well as historical hypocrisies and unfortunate implications that come from promising freedom for all, but I feel like that's something the movie only goes surface level into. That is, America, the motion picture, doesn't really try to have a harder satirical edge to its subject matter, and is instead more attuned to keeping things more accessible than going for something more biting. Granted, it's not trying to be a hard and introspective criticism of American history and politics, but it has the opportunity to try harder and instead holds itself back. It basically falls back on more mediocre and generalized humor, based more on a rapid delivery of jokes, some of which land well and others less so. It comes through with a bit of the idea of throwing everything at a wall and seeing what sticks. There are a few moments in the film where the characters take a step back from comedy to try and add some sense of development and heart to their character arcs, but these bits don't add much to the overall film and end up more as filler. As for the action scenes that pepper America the Motion Picture, they're also a bit of a mixed bag. In terms of choreography and direction, they're pretty well done, paced well enough that for all the chaos going on, you can keep track of the individual fights and overall viscera. However, there's a trade-off in the animation of these scenes, where the film generally keeps things smooth in scenes before this point. These faster-paced scenes drop the frame rate by a good amount, resulting in motion that feels more like a slideshow compared to only minutes or even moments before. It's a part of what makes these scenes more comprehensible, but it's likely to be off-putting to viewers. Overall, America the Motion Picture is more focused on making jokes about America and its history and major figures than making an actual criticism of American culture. It's got fun moments and certainly knows how not to take itself seriously, but it still feels less of a complete comedy and more like a series of ideas written by various people and pieced together into a single script. Specifically, the characters in the film feel almost interchangeable, in that, other than specific jokes about the spelling of their names, you could have swapped out one historical figure for another, and nothing would really change. In the long run, I think that this movie will serve more as an example of modern adult animation, in that it seems less driven towards storytelling or developing characters, and more towards giving audiences plenty of laughs, even if they have to reach into the bottom of the barrel and pull out the easier targets. America the Motion Picture. Matt Thompson, 2021. 2 stars. I wouldn't recommend it myself, but it's harmless enough that it would probably be worth drinking your way through viewing. I mean, beer itself is a major plot point, so it already meets you halfway. Anyways, that's it for the review. If you liked it, then please leave a like. If you didn't like it, then leave me a comment. If you just want to be nice, then subscribe for more reviews like this. I've got nothing to add, really. Just gonna sit in silence for a bit. Let the end cards roll.